So we're underway again. Anchored in Porthcurno last night. Don't anchor in Porthcurno in anything other than zero wind and zero swell, because you're going to have a rough night if you do. I had to rig a bridle on the anchor to make the boat lie to the swell instead of, you know, whatever little wind there was, or the slight current. Which worked, but I had to keep adjusting it. I've had no sleep, none at all. Krina, of course, slept like a log. She's retired. She's not looking good today. It's a short trip. This is it. We're going to the Scilly. You might be able to hear that faint foghorn type sound. That's the Voos, which is outside Porthcurno. That's the marker there, the warning. Don't come here, you'll die. So, this is where we are, look. That's the traffic separation scheme. And that is the destination. So, we're okay. And as you can see and hear, we're actually sailing today. Yes. If it stays like this, it's going to be a nice day. It'll be easy. So what I'm doing here is using the AIS on my radio to identify targets, ships, and then using my hand-bearing compass to spot them, so that I know what the closest point of approach is for that ship. Now, that one over there looks like it could pose a problem. He may not look very big on the camera, but he's a long way away and he looks very big. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Now that I know which ship it is, it's easy for me to look up, you know. We'll see. Ultimately, I am the stand-on vessel, but that's a container ship. Let's see, let's see. Only 5 minutes later, and now I'm sure that he's going to pass in front of us, and the closest point of approach might be a mile or two, but if he's passing in front of us, it doesn't matter, does it? There he is, look. And before, only 5 minutes ago, you know, he appeared to be sort of over there, so keep an eye on these things. But a good pair of binoculars and a hand-bearing compass, and really, you don't even need the electronics, you don't need it. If his bearing stays the same all the time, constant bearing decreasing range, CBDR, you're going to hit him. And if it doesn't stay the same, if the bearing doesn't stay the same, then you're not, you know, you just got to keep an eye on that stuff. Yeah. Another trip to do the TSS. It's not over yet. In fact, we're barely even in the TSS, but I'm not worried about it. We should be fine. What do you think?
Good.
Quick update then. We've just popped out of the northbound TSS lane, and we're going through the waiting area there, and then we'll be doing this one. So with the Tidal gate going to the Scillies, what I generally do, I do the reading like everyone else, and I do the calculations like everyone else, but then with Navionics, and one of the brilliant things about it is you can click on a tidal arrow there, and it tells you now what the tide is doing, and you can scroll ahead. So by 10:30 you can see that arrow's pointing somewhere else. By 11 it does another little circuit. So I can estimate sort of roughly what time I'm going to be in that zone and see what the tide is doing. Now what I'm hoping, well it's not hoping, this is the plan, is that by the time we get somewhere near the Eastern Isles there, the tide will be carrying us round the bottom of St Martin's there, or the top I suppose, I think it is north, to where I normally anchor, which is in there. So that should be perfect. The last time I followed the guidebook, and the guidebook says when you go to the Scillies, don't even think about going anywhere except St Mary's first. Go to St Mary's, drop anchor there, because that's safest. Follow the leading lines, it's all danger, danger and death. Look, I mean, yeah, alright, follow the guidebook, but I don't anymore. I did that last time and found myself fighting against the tide. It made the last 2 hours of the trip, I covered about 4 miles. It was hard, This time, I know that happens now, that that rotational tide around the Scillies. I know it happens now, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. So that's where I'm going to anchor, because it's nice and peaceful and not rolly like St Mary's. And by the time I get sort of in this area, the tide should be sweeping me around this way. And that looks like it'll sweep you right out into the Atlantic, but it won't. They rotate around the islands, so that's actually going to be really helpful. So there it is. We're doing very well. We've seen 6.5 knots on the log there, the digital log. We're doing very well. Perfect day for sailing. Look at it. And once again, the TSS was no problem at all. Monkey.